What's up guys, we have heard that previous stimulus packages had over $5 trillion. There are literally hundreds of billions of dollars left over that they have unused, just sitting there on the kitchen counter, and they are trying to figure out what to do with it. It has come back to their memory right before the midterm elections, and they are trying to figure out, what do we do with all this excess money? How about $2,000 stimulus checks? We are also hearing that there are calls once again for checks, as also Democrats right now are just reaching out everywhere trying to get some sort of support because approval is plummeting for them right before these elections. These are the headlines just coming out in the past couple of days. Senate bill pushes unused pandemic money to secure schools in the wake of the mass shooting. And it says, Republicans say $150 billion of unused pandemic relief funds should be put towards school security measures. Here's another one just came out 22 hours ago. Scott proposes putting to use pandemic relief funds to improve school security. We also have heard an assortment of other ones. The president had tried to repurpose this money a couple of months ago as well. Biden administration to renew pandemic funding push when Congress returns next week, and this was to provide more vaccines and therapeutics to fight the new wave that is hitting, and we are hearing that is going to be ramping up the pandemic. A lot of people are saying, well, what about checks? If you got unused money, it's not going to add to debt and inflation. But there's also this concern around what has already been sent out, sparking the inflation that we've currently in. This money is already been issued by the Federal Reserve, by Congress. It's just sitting there unused and could not spark further inflation because they are not issuing new funds. They are just taking funds that were already issued and they just haven't gone out yet. Unspent funds color the debate over additional pandemic relief. This article was several months ago, earlier in the year. This is what they were reporting to us of the $5 to $7 trillion in fiscal support that Congress had provided since early 2020. About $800 billion remains unspent or uncommitted. According to the Committee of Response and the federal budget, the think tank on those figures reported might be leggy. So it might be a little bit less, but still $800 billion just sitting there. And a lot of people are saying, why don't you send out direct assistance and payments to help out the people? Now, even if they just send out one check, that still leaves $400 billion left over for other provisions and things that they think that they could probably use to help with school funding or another assortment of different items. But we've also had people reminding the president, hey, you can't make these promises and not keep them. Bernie Sanders has been saying just recently in the past couple of days, you've got to keep your promises. The American people aren't dumb. You can't tell them that you are going to do all these things and then not do it or just pass it right before elections to get them to vote for you. They're not going to fall for it. He was reminding the president to send out $2,000 stimulus checks as he has promised. All these promises are still unfulfilled, and also we've heard about $200 per month going out to Social Security recipients. We've heard about whipping out $10,000 in student loan debt, unemployment extensions, and all of these direct assistance provisions that have just been left as unkept promises. The legality is a little gray, but they are saying he can repurpose existing funds. An article says that U.S. Senator Tim Scott joined other lawmakers this week to introduce a bill that he says is designed to make schools safer. The Safe Schools Act, introduced by Scott Droger Marshall and U.S. Representative Mike Garcia, would allow schools to use unspent pandemic relief dollars allocated through the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund for security measures. As the nation continues to mourn the innocent lives that were taken out, New Valley leaders have a responsibility to turn our collective grief into real action, Scott said. This common sense bill takes an important step in that direction by using the unspent pandemic money to make schools safer, an absolute no-brainer. I encourage my colleagues to join me in supporting this bill to protect students and teachers. Those measures could include locks, panic buttons, individual rooms, security systems, video surveillance, and hiring and paying salaries of armed school resource officers. The act would exempt expenses for school security improvements from current ESSER guidelines that require expenses to be related to the pandemic. What happened at Vivaldi was a horrific tragedy, Marshall said. While many have quick to play politics, one thing that we can agree on is that Congress must act to harden schools. So this is one of the most recent ones to repurpose those existing funds. There is concern about issuing new funds, sparking more inflation, which we are hearing is the major concern of centrist moderate Democrat Joe Manchin in the Senate. That is why he has stopped the Build Back Better bill and other provisions, because he says he does not want to issue out new funds. In another article, York says there is inflation across the board, and the US is experiencing a kind of uniquely high inflation. I think it's driven by not just the stimulus payments themselves, but the size of the relief overall. Yet Gleckman argues that the surge in prices has been affected by supply rather than demand issues, and those problems aren't directly connected to the stimulus money. That includes constraints on factory workers due to the pandemic problems with shipping from overseas, and now Russia-Ukraine's war, which led to additional bottlenecks. It's a little too convenient to blame inflation on just excessive stimulus payments, Gleckman said. Not that they have nothing to do with it, but they don't have as much to do with it as some people are suggesting. So there you have it, guys. With that being said, should more checks go out if it's not going to spark significantly more inflation and could directly help out people as we are experiencing those record high prices and 41-year high inflation? I'll see you in the next video.